Hey guys, Claire here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about all things Harry and Meghan. The Invictus Games Foundation has officially announced the addition of 2 new nations to the Invictus Games family. Welcome Brazil and Lithuania. Ahead of the 2025 Vancouver Whistler Games, Brazil and Lithuania are now officially a part of the Invictus Games family. Also joining Brazil and Lithuania in this year's lineup is the newly formed team Afghan Unconquered, announced on the 6th of November. As all 3 teams prepare to join competitors from other nations, the Invictus Games Foundation reaffirms its commitment to the recovery and rehabilitation of all wounded, injured, and sick service personnel and veterans, regardless of nationalities. Can't wait to see the upcoming games. As the global ambassador for Scotty's Little Soldiers, Prince Harry had a few touching words for the boys and girls of Scotty's Little Soldiers for the upcoming Remembrance Day. In a letter signed by Prince Harry, the Duke said, "As we approach Remembrance Day, I want to take a moment to reflect on the profound significance of this occasion and what it means for each of you. Each of you carries a unique story shaped by the bravery of a parent who served our country. I understand, perhaps more than most, the weight of losing a parent at a young age. It can be overwhelming and isolating. Yet, in the midst of the heartache, we find strength in the love and memories left behind. And I've seen how communities like yours can offer deep comfort and healing. Scotty's Little Soldiers embodies the spirit of community. In coming together to support one another, you are not only honoring the memories of your loved ones, but also forging bonds that can and will carry you through the toughest times. The tears and laughter, the shared experiences, and the moments of joy you create together are powerful reminders that love endures. On this Remembrance Day, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on the values that your loved ones instilled in you. Courage, compassion, and a sense of purpose. These will serve as your guiding light, helping you to navigate the challenges ahead. And as you gather to remember and celebrate, know that you are part of a larger community that stands with you, ready to uplift and support you. Your resilience is a testament to the legacy of your loved ones, and I have every confidence in your ability to make them proud and shine brightly in the world. All that they want is for you to be happy." What a sweet letter. We also got to see a dual appearance of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. It's no surprise that they've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and this video illustrates some of the work that they've been doing. This week, members of Archwell's Foundation's Parents Network attended the inaugural United Nations Global Ministerial Conference on Ending Violence Against Children in Bogota, Colombia. This landmark event marked the first time that governments and leaders from around the world have come together to commit to accelerating Sustainable Development Goal 16.2, which in essence is basically about ending all forms of violence against children. The conference addresses the urgent solutions and actions needed to create a world where children are safe and protected in their homes, schools, communities, and in online spaces. In a video message, Harry and Meghan applauded the efforts of those actively addressing this critical issue and stressed the importance of tackling digital violence to prioritize children's safety in today's connected world.
Good morning, and thank you to both the Colombian and Swedish governments, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and the Special Representative of the Secretary General on Ending Violence Against Children for bringing us all together today. The first ever ministerial conference on ending violence against children comes at a crucial time, and, quite frankly, should not be required. But here we are. We are at a crossroads, where the urgency to reassess and redefine our approach to protecting children has become increasingly evident. While the necessity has always been apparent, it is now time to translate that awareness into meaningful action. So we thank you all for your attention to this critical issue.
My husband and I recognize today's reality is marked by greater connectivity and advanced technology, which of course has many positives, but which also compels us to better understand how digital violence against children is manifesting itself in this age. And at the Archwell Foundation, we engage with young people, families, and experts worldwide, learning how every aspect of a child's life, from their livelihood to their physical and mental well-being, now operate within an online economy that has the power to both shape and misshape our connections.
While the online world can help develop strategies to protect children from violence, it also introduces new risks, such as from individuals who exploit gaps in outdated legal systems, which often don't account for today's digital realities. We know that supporting parents is essential in reducing digital violence against children. That's why earlier this year, we launched the Parents Network, a support network for families dealing with online harm. Through trauma-informed practices, we help parents come together to forge strong bonds, offering healing support through community with the ultimate goal of prioritizing safety at the source.
Parents from the Parents Network are sharing their personal stories about their families' experiences with you all this week. We hope their voices and message will reaffirm this room's commitment to taking a clear-eyed approach to the reality of violence targeting children in this digital age. The stories have helped us to understand that as we better equip parents and caregivers and work to establish norms around the use of and access to technology as they relate to preventing violence, we must also commit to establishing standards that prioritize children's safety.
Young people are calling for help. Families are desperately seeking support. They are urging us to leverage the resources in this room to confront the new reality our youth are facing. We look forward to the actions and outcomes of the discussions that will take place here in Colombia, and are grateful for the leadership, expertise, and testimonies that will come together in this room to address all forms of violence targeting the most vulnerable in our world.
Thank you again for your commitment to preventing violence against children, both offline and online. Together, we can harness this moment to drive lasting change. Thank you.
And this is why I absolutely adore Harry and Meghan. You'll always know that at some point, somewhere, they're always doing good work, no matter if we see them or not. In this world where there's just so much going on, and a lot of it not good, it's refreshing to see public figures who could easily spend their time relaxing and enjoying their Montecito mansion, but who genuinely seem to find joy in showing up and doing good. Also, it's always nice to see Meghan's beautiful smiling face.
Another global conference, another brilliant cause in ending violence against children, and the two cuties pop up again. And I got to say, Meghan looks absolutely smoking hot. No other way to describe her. Expand the photo for yourself if you want to. She looks fabulous. And I want to say, am I allowed to say as a white middle UK man, I want to say that she's positively glowing. Just looking at her. Is she, isn't she? Do I have a right to comment as a white middle-aged man that lives in the UK? I don't know.
Prince William was in South Africa for his engagement for Earthshot, and apparently there were protesters there who ambushed Williams, demanding that he goes home now. This particular sign says, "William, you have no sovereignty in our country." So it feels like just about every foreign tour or engagement that they've taken outside of the UK comes with some manner of protests. Perhaps this is a trend for future international engagements. One of the protesters were quoted as saying, "Hand back what your grandmother stole from us." We all know that ain't never gonna happen, but good for him or her. Now, while there for the Earthshot, there was some celebrities, one of which was Heidi Klum. And when the reporters talked to her, she said that she had no idea about the awards, what it's about, until Williams' people contacted her and asked her if she wanted to be a part of it. And that's the thing for me. I feel like a vast majority of the things that William is engaged in just seems so very performative, because instead of just, like with the homelessness, he has the duchy, he has a tremendous amount of personal wealth. He could pony up some of his money, pony up some of the duchy, and truly make a difference, but he doesn't. Instead, he'll take photos with the homeless guy with the newspapers. He'll take photos and videos of himself at an art show that's supposed to be somehow beneficial for his homeless project. It's performative, especially since he has the means to do so much better than he does. With this Earthshot situation, it feels like they're just looking for different places to fly around and pay a bunch of celebrities to come and smile and walk a green carpet, take photos and videos and talk about, I don't even know what they're talking about, because it's always William surrounding himself with celebrities. You very rarely even hear what it's about. You very rarely hear about the actual award winners and what projects that they're working on. Again, very performative. And I don't mean to always compare him to Harry, but look at this Earthshot situation and look at Invictus Games. And Invictus Games surrounds itself. Every single activity and part of the Invictus Games is about the veterans and their families. It's not about celebrities. It's not about Harry. Harry is talking about the veterans. He's interacting with them and their families. The only celebrities you see are the ones who entertain, who sing for the opening or the closing. And guess who they're singing and entertaining? The veterans and their families. It's all about them, not about Harry, not about celebrities. It's about creating a community and supporting those that you are supposedly honoring or pledging your service to. William still does not seem to understand that. Every single activity he does just seems so incredibly lacking in substance. And I don't foresee that to change anytime soon. But what do I know? I could be wrong.
I have to be honest, I had never heard of this before, and it was really when Prince William's team came to me and asked me if I would want to join. Come to South Africa and nominate and be on the stage.
Last week, I thought we were so lucky to have such a caring Prince of Wales. He cares so much about homelessness that he was willing to take time out of his busy schedule to make a TV programme telling us about his charitable aims. Then this week I learned that it seems that his idea of housing people is to let them live with mouldy walls, and houses so cold that people can only afford to heat 2 rooms, and properties that aren't up to environmental standards. That's not our Green Prince, surely. He wouldn't let out polluting properties, would he? But at least he's been calling for an end to environmental destruction. Although I wonder if that was before or after he gave permission for luxury holiday homes to be built on a cliff, which resulted in land falling onto the beach below, ruining it for the local community. And as for him saying we should make peace with nature, well, I'm not sure the wildlife at Whipsbury is feeling very peaceful, and all the grouse that he shoots for fun. Is Kate getting off scot-free? Did she not know the dirty secrets of the royal family? Maybe instead of studying the history of art, she'd have been better off studying the history of the royal family. At this rate, they'll be begging Harry to return.
Now, of course, in the last video we talked about the recent documentary, and we've seen the fallout from it. So many people being absolutely outraged by the enormous amounts of money that Charles and William are getting from so many different charities and the hospitals and military. And of course, there's a distraction tactic. And now you have exclusives from royal commentators that has the sole purpose of trying to humanize them and distract from the not so pleasant conversations of people discussing the things revealed in the documentary. It never fails.
In news that will shock absolutely nobody, the royal family are a bunch of because King Charles and Prince William's private estates are taking millions of pounds from public bodies, including the NHS, the armed forces, charities and schools, whilst not paying taxes on it. The numbers associated with some of these deals are completely insane. £37.5 million agreement to lease Dartmoor Prison, a building that is empty. £11.4 million deal to rent a London warehouse over 15 years to store ambulances. The Royal Navy being charged to dock their ships and refuel. Schools being charged. Of education. I mean, these are the deals the royal family are okay with us knowing about. You can only imagine how bad some of them are. Now, people can downplay this and say, oh, shock horror, man leases land that he owns, but to be clear, this is land that was largely stolen off of people during feudal times by medieval monarchs that is being used to line the pockets of incredibly wealthy people, who are leasing it to public services that they claim to love and cherish, and it's not a surprise as to why, when they're being paid millions of pounds of taxpayer money. Now, the reason the duchies aren't paying any tax on these deals is because they consider themselves to be private estates, and therefore William and Charles aren't paying corporation tax, nor do they pay capital gains tax on the assets that they sell, yet they act in a commercial manner. If they want to be both private and commercial, then they should be paying taxes just like everybody else. And as we all know, Charles and William talk a good talk when it comes to environmental concerns, yet their actions couldn't be further from their words, because they're more than happy to lease their land to mining companies that will cause all manner of environmental damage. And Prince William, Mr. I Want to End Homelessness, owns 76 properties that fail to meet minimum legal energy efficiency standards for landlords. Some of his tenants are at risk of fuel poverty, and they are living in hard-to-heat homes riddled with damp and black mould. The future King of England is a slumlord. But remember, in some people's heads, all of this is okay, because tourists will look at the outside of Buckingham Palace and something Meghan Markle. It is completely absurd that in the year 2024 we can call ourselves a progressive nation when we continue to uphold outdated practices like the monarchy. These people with fortunes in the billions are ripping us off during a cost of living crisis. Why do we continue to fund them?
The British royals aren't the only royal family experiencing not so warm welcomes from the general public at large. The Spanish royals have been experiencing their own issues as well.
2024 really feels like the year that the cracks are starting to show when it comes to monarchy. And I'm not just talking about the British monarchy. The King and Queen of Spain were literally pelted with mud and rocks over the weekend. On Sunday, King Felipe and Queen Letizia of Spain paid a visit to the region of Valencia, which has been struck by catastrophic level floods recently. They conducted this visit alongside Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, who has fallen under fire recently for his government's handling of the floods. Residents in the area report that the emergency alert system in place did not alert them to the oncoming flooding until it was already underway. These are some of the deadliest floods in Spain's history, and the death toll has currently climbed to over 215 people. The feeling among residents in Paiporta, the town that was affected the most, seems to be that they were abandoned by the government. Now, the King and Queen of Spain are largely figureheads. They don't hold any political power. It's very similar to the way that the British monarchy runs. The king is the head of state and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, but most of his power is actually wielded by parliament, and he is just the one that signs laws. So this visit would have been strategically important for Valencia in terms of directing attention their way and hopefully also highlighting the need for supplies and recovery efforts in the area. The king and queen's role during this appearance would have been mostly to lend moral support, and it seems like a lot of people know that and understand that. The throwing of mud and stones and insults seems to have mainly been directed at the Prime Minister. It just so happened that this was the first time that he had been in the region as well. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez did leave as soon as things started being thrown at him, but I find it very interesting that King Felipe and Queen Letizia stayed. Even as they were covered in mud, they kept mingling with the crowd, hearing people's stories. Queen Letizia in particular was very emotionally moved, or at least she appeared to be, and King Felipe directly spoke with his subjects. This is so important for a monarch to be able to get out and do this, and the fact that this visit kept going even with literal projectiles being thrown at the king, that speaks volumes, and it's going to do wonders for King Felipe's image. He does have this reputation of being somewhat out of touch with his people, so this ability to display empathy and to stand his ground in the face of criticism is going to serve Felipe very, very well in the future. This is especially good for Felipe's image because he has recently been wrapped up in drama concerning Mexico. Mexico just inaugurated its first female president, and the King of Spain was not invited to that ceremony. This decision on behalf of Claudia Sheinbaum, the new president, dates back to a letter sent in 2019 from Mexico to Spain, asking for an apology for the abuses of the colonial conquest in Mexico. At the time, not only did the Spanish government refuse to apologize, they could have just ignored this letter, but they chose to respond, saying they profoundly rejected the letter and added that the arrival of the Spanish on Mexican soil 500 years ago cannot be judged in the light of contemporary considerations, and that our closely related peoples have always known how to view our shared history without anger and form a shared perspective as free peoples with a common heritage and an extraordinary future. Seems like a very one-sided narrative to me, and so King Felipe, the head of the Spanish government, now finds himself being snubbed by the first female president of Mexico. He was not invited to her inauguration, although Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, interestingly, was. Sanchez is a socialist, and this feud, as it's turning out to be, has captured a lot of media attention when it comes to Spain's monarchy recently. There was also some erroneous reporting that King Felipe had had been caught on a hot mic referring to the president in some derogatory language. I think that was hearsay or a misconstrued story. I don't think that that actually happened, but it doesn't require a stretch of the imagination to believe that he might have said something like that. Anyway, it really sucks that people's tragedies become good PR for the royals. That is what's happened here with King Felipe and Queen Letizia. I'm not saying that their visit to Valencia was like a success. They did handle this as well as they possibly could have. They stood their ground, they heard their people out, and I think Queen Letizia actually said at one point, these people have a right to be angry. Unprecedented. You would never hear that from somebody like a British royal. A British royal would have been whisked away at the first mudslinging incident.
I'm probably late to the punch, but I guess Meghan and Harry delivered a message about an online safety at a UN summit. They're always doing something great, aren't they? For the address, the Duchess wore the Ralph Lauren Parker jacket, accessorized with a poppy pin ahead of Remembrance Day. Of course, they showed the jacket, and it says it's hard to say for certain, but Meghan's earrings could be either the Ariel Gordon Royal Signet studs or the Boaranga Feather Kiss studs. And that's the earrings. Of course, they put the jacket and some more of the shoes. I love those shoes. Anyway, I love that they always have to make sure they put Meghan's beautiful style fashion in there, because we know the woman knows how to dress.
Yes, the King is making millions of pounds out of exploiting the public. If Uncle Charles wants to rent out a warehouse to the NHS for £11 million, he's allowed. Stop bullying the King! Abolish the duchies of Lancaster and Cornwall, the state asset they make their private wealth out of. What are they going to live off? The sovereign wealth grant of £70 million a year? They'll starve. Who is on all of Great Britain's notes and coins? That's right, a picture of his dead mummy. Do you know how sad it makes him to have all that money? Stop being mean to Unky Charles and Hunky Willie. You can't abolish the duchies. It's a decision that was made 300 years ago. It's the will of the people. You can't upset the ghosts. What's important is that the King has it now, not how he got it or whether he should have it. It's like billionaires. If you tax them, they'll leave the country and he'll go and become king of somewhere else.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell.